Hey guys, and CSFan001 here, welcoming you to another one of those weekly trophy list update videos. Today's date is Monday, September 28th, 2020, so almost done with September. September and August went by pretty quickly this year, I feel like, which is good given how 2020's been. But anyway, this was a very productive week of the 21st through the 27th. I earned possibly a record for me, at least recently, 7 platinums in this last week, so tons and tons of trophy progress overall this week. I will say real quickly though, no success with Destiny 2 this week. I did not get the last item that I need, so still gotta keep grinding away at that until it pops up and gives me a lucky drop for that vouchsafe scout rifle from the Dreaming City. So yeah, that's really about the only update for that game. I also didn't get the chance to play any Advanced Warfare. I tried to get a session going on a Discord group, but couldn't get anyone to join, so I don't know what's going to go on with that. Might just have to end up doing it on PSN Profiles again. At the very least, I'd like to get through Carrier this week. I mean, that's all I'm really going to say for that, is just try to get through the last 2 trophies on Carrier. I won't even bother with Descent this week. So, as for the games I earned trophies in, there were a lot of them, and we are going to go through all of those. So, the first one was Terminator Resistance, and this game, I started it back on the 20th. Oh, no, I started it back on the 18th, it looks like. So, a few days before the end of this, before the start of last week. But this was a really fun platinum. This is definitely one that I would recommend you guys to play. It is absolutely worth playing. Especially if you can rent it. It might be a little bit expensive at times, so only get it if you can rent it, because it's only about a 10-hour platinum, so with how little time it takes and how little overall content there is, it's more worth a rental or a very cheap purchase. But the game's good. It's absolutely worth playing, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. Now, don't be turned off by the fact that it was made by the people that made the Rambo game on PS3 that has an unobtainable 100% and was terrible in the first place, because they actually also made Heavy Fire Afghanistan, which is not that bad of a game. It's a decent enough game. I might do the Japanese version someday. But as for the actual trophy, since I earned the platinum, I guess I'll go through the whole list. So you have to destroy a T-800. I'm pretty sure that there's no way you're missing this by just simply completing the game. You have to destroy one that has a flamethrower by shooting its fuel tank, which you'll probably get by accident if you're not specifically going for it. You have to hack devices, so you have to hack 10 of them. This is mainly turrets, but also like ammo and supply boxes. The hacking minigame is not like the Fallout hacking minigame. It's basically a game of Frogger where you have to get a little dot across the screen while dodging obstacles. You will most likely get this naturally, especially if you're doing a lot of exploration, because some of the levels are fairly linear, but others are fairly open world to where you can tackle stuff sort of however you want. Go off the path to find optional objectives and missions and collect supplies and all that kind of stuff. Hacking a turret, same thing, except you actually have to get a kill, I believe, with a hacked turret. I believe that's a later trophy. And then you have to upgrade your weapon. That's basically unmissable. I think you actually have to do that as part of the story, or they try to make you do it as part of the story. This is from the Radio for Ryan side quest. You have to go out and find the radio, and then you have to bring it back and use it to annoy Alvin the scientist at the Resistance base. This is toward the later parts of the game. You have to take at least a good photo of an enemy. Just find one that you can get behind fairly safely, or one that's kind of not moving that much, and just take a good picture of them. It's pretty easy. You also can't do this until, I think, the midway point of the game, when you go back to Pasadena, I think is the name of the chapter where you can first do it. You have to complete a side objective. You actually have to complete 5 side missions in the game, but there are well over 5. Like, there's well over 10 of them in the game. Most of them are very easy and shouldn't give you much trouble, just as long as you make sure to do it before the end of the game, because the game kind of has a chapter select feature. It's basically reloading saves. It's not a true chapter select. It's really just, reloading old saves and stuff, so do keep that one in mind. You have to open 10 locks, which the lockpicking is identical to Fallout and Skyrim lockpicking. It's ripped straight from it. Even the sounds are. Craft 5 items. Just use a crafting bench to make 5 things. Nothing difficult there. Then you have to find notes. I think you have to find a total of 10, and there are 32 total in the game. I ended up finding 26 of them without any sort of guide, so there's more than enough that are easy to find. Didn't quite get all of them, but it's the only, real collectible in the game, so I guess just be on the lookout for them if you're a completionist and want just a little bit of extra backstory into the game. Then you have to, this is the really highly missable trophy in the game that stops the platinum for a lot of people who are beating the game through natural just gameplay without a guide or a care for the trophies. There is a locked door that requires you to have a maxed out lockpicking skill in the Back to Pasadena chapter. So you have to be at least a level 12 to get to that ability, and you have to have put 3 skill points into the lockpicking tree to get this ability. So just make sure that before you leave the Back to Pasadena chapter that you have reached level 12, put 3 points into lockpick, and managed to pick this door. It's really stupid too because the door doesn't lead to anything. It's just a door like in a blown out carcass of a building somewhere in the middle of the city. So it's really dumb. It doesn't even give you anything except for this trophy, but just keep that one in mind because it's by far the most missable trophy in the entire game. You have to kill an enemy with a hack turret. I already talked about that. Just hack a turret and let it kill someone. Kill a Terminator with a termination knife. You'll get these later in the game. You have to equip them on your weapons wheel, and you use them to instant kill a T-800. You have to destroy a Skynet outpost. There are around 4 or 5 of them in the game. They're basically side missions. They're little extra objectives. You go in, you hack the turrets, and then you hack a central computer, or you blow up all the fuel storage in it. This is another missable trophy, although this one's less missable because you can do it through reloading the saves. And it requires you to destroy a T-47. This is a really big sort of mech walker that occupies the Back to Pasadena chapter. Basically just keep repeatedly shooting it and throw everything at it. It was actually my last trophy I got because I didn't know it was a trophy when I was initially in that chapter. But just keep that in mind that that's also in Back to Pasadena. You can do a lot of these trophies in that chapter if you happen to miss any of them because there's tons of enemies and tons of stuff to do. 5 side missions, already mentioned that. 10 notes, already mentioned that. And then we have a bunch of story-related trophies. All of those are story-related. You can beat the game on any difficulty, so I would highly recommend playing on easy if you want to get through it more quickly. Normal probably wouldn't be that difficult either, because, I mean, it's a fairly simple first-person shooter that has a little bit of, like, Far Cry mixed in with it. But, I mean, it is a relatively fun game, and it's worth playing. It has its problems. It doesn't look that great, and it has some technical issues. It never crashed on me or anything, but it lags quite a bit. And the sex scenes they're not quite as bad as Ride to Hell Retribution, but they're not particularly well made either. So do keep that in mind. That both exists and isn't very good. But anyway, it's definitely a worthwhile game to play. Would highly recommend trying this one out when you get a chance. So, next up, I did 3 stacks of Medigal, the North American PS4, the European PS4, and the North American PS Vita. So this was one of those remaining games that's currently in my folder. And you know what? Since people keep asking about it, and I guess I haven't been clear enough in showing my folders previously, I thought I showed them in some streams previously. So I have my non-AAA folder. This has... And I'll probably do a specific video for this at some point soon, but I have games like Rocket League, the Overcooked, Forbidden Siren. I just want to play that on an alt account and see how it is. I mean, I've heard it's really difficult. Minecraft, Final Season of The Walking Dead, the Destroy All Humans games, Dead Nation, 1000 top rated. I still have it. Don't Starve Together. I think that me and Lizard Guy were going to play this at some point, but we never really got around to it. It takes a lot of updates, too. We have the Call of Duty folder with all the Call of Duties that I either still have trophies or gameplay to do in, or just want to have. Then we have AAA titles such as the Destiny games, Borderlands, Uncharted, No Man's Sky, Killzone, Resident Evil, Just Cause, more Borderlands, Outer Worlds, Sims, Battlefront 2. And like I said, I'll probably go through it in more detail whenever I do end up doing like a video of it. I have Plats in progress, tons of different games here that are left. Some easy, some less easy. Some were free games from the past. Capture Gallery, my remaining EU games. I will show this one in a little more detail. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 EU stacks left, and then I'm basically done with all the EU stuff. Zeus Quest Remastered, that's a fairly easy platinum. Suicide Guy, I think, might be the hardest one I have in here. Pick a Pix Color, that one's easy with a guide, I believe. Last Wind Monk, that's the Inner World sequel, and the first one was awful because you can beat it in 2 hours, but it crashes like 5 or 6 times per playthrough, which is terrible. Sigi, I remember this game. I don't know why I haven't done this one yet. I know it's quick, but it's not a good game. Then we got our Ratalaika games. We've got Firewatch, which is actually a good game, and I'm not afraid to play that one a second time because that's actually a good game. And, of course, this one. My Rockstar games... So, Red Dead games, some GTA, Bully's fun, great game. My 3 remaining 100% that I still need to do at some point. I guess I'm still kind of hesitant on this one because I fear that it might get DLC or something, the way like White Boys with Attitude Getting Money did. My games that are currently parked on my external drive, so these are some other major titles that I don't know why I still have some of these on here, but they're there. My Ubisoft folder, so Far Cry, Division, South Park. My Bethesda folder, and my VR folder. So I might go into more detail on this stuff in a future video and just like dedicate a short whole video to it or something, since people keep asking about it, because I go over it sometimes in streams. But anyway, let's scroll on back up. Medigal is another easy Ratalaika game. It's not the easiest of the Ratalaika games, but it's still pretty easy. It's basically a Mega Man clone, but the Platinum isn't too bad overall. There's only one difficult trophy, so you have to complete the tutorial section here, and you have to watch the intro cutscene without skipping. That only takes a couple of minutes. So that's your first 2 trophies easy. Then you have to collect a total of 3 gears in your inventory at once. Some enemies randomly drop them, and some can just be found randomly in the levels. And gears basically function sort of as a checkpoint system. You can respawn with one, or you can respawn at the last checkpoint or the start of the level. You have to die once, and you also have to die by falling off a level and by jumping into spikes. So you can do all of this on the very first level, which is where you're going to be doing all your trophies, because you only have to beat the first level, thankfully. Rebirth yourself with a gear, which I already mentioned. Reach a checkpoint on any level. You'll get this during the first level. And then you have to defeat the final boss of the first level, which is by far the hardest trophy. I had a bit of trouble with this one on the North American PS4 version because I was still learning the game and all, because I didn't completely understand the attack patterns, and the fight can be a little bit cheap at times just with some of the attacks and stuff that's hard to dodge. But it's not really that hard. I mean, this game is no more really. It's maybe like a 2.5 out of 10 if you're not a fan of the Mega Man type games. If you are, then you're probably going to have an easier time than I did. But for me, it was just a little bit harder, but it's still a sub 1 hour Platinum. You can do it in about 30 minutes. This version took me longer than the others, but you can definitely do it in like 30 minutes, so it's not really that big a deal. The European PS4 version is exactly the same, and this one looks like, yeah, this one only took 13 minutes, so you can easily do it in under half an hour if you know what you're doing. But I think I did the trophies in a slightly different order in each version of the game, which is kind of funny. But, I mean, it's, like I said, it's just, there's not much more to say about it. It's a Ratalaika game. It's a fairly easy Ratalaika game, like most of them are, and it's a very short one if you really know what you're doing. I think this one also took, 13 minutes. So, yeah, that's really that for that game. There's nothing really else to talk about with that one. Then we have Word Maze by Palgi. This is another Palgi game. I mean, I like the Palgi games decently enough. They're, word puzzles and stuff. I don't mind this kind of stuff, although this one is less word puzzle and more just kind of boring to me. At least it was to me. So this one is like some of those earlier ones, like I think it was one word, and some of those other ones where you just had to solve specific puzzles and specific sets of puzzles rather than all of them. So for this one, you have to solve every puzzle in the following categories. How to play, that's the tutorial that only has 3 puzzles, and all the remaining ones have 6 puzzles each. Pets, animal sounds, dog breeds, herbs and spices, musical instruments, US states, biblical names, money, sushi, musical terms, Indian food, bonus, fruit, computer keyboard, fish, parts of a car, around the mansion, capital cities, on stage, Christmas decorations, circus acts, on fire, horses, fast food, trees, sea life, boats, ice cream, furniture, hospital, and feeling adventurous. That is, of course, the final set of puzzles. So, as you can see in the image, basically you start at the beginning of it, like it gives you your first word, and then you just have to fill out the rest by just, going in the proper direction on it. And as long as you follow a guide, this Platinum is very, very easy. It can be done in under 2 hours. So this one took me a little bit under 2 hours. I think I did the Vita version just a little bit faster, but like I said, it takes around probably 2 hours on your first try, and you can do it a little bit faster the next time, especially if you remember how to solve some of the puzzles. And the people who have this game done in like 15 minutes on PSN profiles, that is not actually hacking. There is a way you could do that if you really wanted to. What you would do is solve the first 5 puzzles in each of these categories and the first 2 in how to play. And then you would go back and starting with the last set of puzzles down here, because it takes a while to scroll to, you would just solve the final puzzle in each category, and you would probably want to be doing this without a guide, but 15 minutes is not impossible. They're not actually spending 15 minutes, they're spending the full hour and a half to 2 hours doing it, but it is not a lie or a hack or anything like that. They're not cheating, so do note that. So it's a very easy Palgi game like most of them are. However, I will say, while the Vita version has the exact same trophy list, as you can see, this one I ran into a slight issue with the tutorial trophy here, and this has happened in like one or two of the other Palgi games. It tends to be an issue that they'll have like one trophy or one set of puzzles always not work quite properly on the Vita version of the games. I don't know why it is, but it just tends to happen a lot. And it happened in this game as well with the how to play puzzles, because I solved the 3 and it didn't give me the trophy because, as you can see here, my first trophy was actually this one, and I beat this one in about an hour and 20 minutes, so I did it quite a bit faster. But to get this fixed, I just had to resolve the 3 puzzles in how to play, which is very easy. But I mean, it was just kind of annoying that I had to do that it ran into a glitch again. You would think they could maybe get that ironed out for all the games in the future, because, you know, you're more than 10 games into the franchise and more than one of them have had this issue with it. So hopefully it's something that doesn't come back too often in later entries as we continue to get more and more of these games. But once again, I mean, it's a quick and easy Platinum trophy. This was the North American PS4 and North American PS Vita versions. Since I don't own the European version, we're not doing the European version, plain and simple. And finally, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 on PS3. This is an old school movie tie-in game, and it's rated as very much an ultra rare platinum on PlayStation Network here. It's just under 10% last I checked on PSN profiles. It's always hovering in that like 9.8, 9.9, sometimes right at 10% obtained. So it's actually a pretty uncommon platinum, and I think I know why, because you have to beat the game 3 times, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. This is not a very good game. Angry Joe did a review of both of the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows games. They do not play anything like the old Harry Potter games, like, you know, Chamber of Secrets and Order of the Phoenix, that were all really good. No, you're not exploring Hogwarts open world having fun like that. No, guess what you get to do? You get a third-person Gears of War clone with gun wands, and that is not even an exaggeration. You have, like, each spell is basically a different gun. Like, Wingardium Leviosa isn't a gun. Thankfully, they didn't manage to screw that one up, and Protego's not a gun, which is also good. It's a shield. But you have Stupefy, which is a semi-automatic rifle. You get Petrificus Totalis, which is a shotgun that just stuns the enemy and keeps them frozen in place for a few seconds. You have Confringo as a rocket launcher. Expelliarmus is a grenade launcher. Impedimenta is a burst fire rifle that's not very powerful. Expulso is a submachine gun. Then what else is there? There's Confundo is a sniper rifle that turns the enemy to your side. Just, it's bizarre. It's actually bizarre. I don't know. I mean, I know that Deathly Hallows Part 1 probably didn't have the most content to make into a game, and I feel like it probably would have just made more sense to make both Part 1 and Part 2 in a single game. At least then you would have had more content and maybe could have even done something a little bit more creative than this. Because you can beat the game in like 4 hours, and that's mostly because there's ridiculous amounts of backtracking. Like, half the levels are you just running back and forth through the same level you just went through in the previous level, or a previous level, which is not good or fun game design. There's only like 4 different environments. You have like the Ministry of Magic, you have the nuclear power plant, you have the forest, and you have a couple other areas. That's really about it. But as for the actual trophies, this platinum is not too difficult. It's no more than like a 3 out of 10, but there are a few things to keep in mind. So you're going to get all of these trophies through this one just by completing the story. So those are all unmissable. I'm pretty sure this one's also an unmissable story-related trophy, but I could be wrong. I think you get it during the first set of 3 side missions that you have to do in any order, which all suck, by the way. They aren't fun, and they just pad the length of the game too much. And also the trophy images are really uncreative. So you have to use every spell in the game. There are 8 of them total, and you might also have to use Protego, so technically 9 with that. You have to use all the potions in the game. There's around 10 of them. There's 4 that you can carry at any given time that can be used as weapons, and then there's like 5 or 6 more different ones that you can pick up off the ground that'll heal you or give you more speed or strength and stuff. Then you have to use Confundo to strike an enemy and have them defeat another enemy. That one's pretty much unmissable. This one is technically missable. You might not get this one normally. Just use Wingardium Leviosa to pull up something to cover yourself. I mean, it's a little bit rare because it's not really a very practical idea because it's Gears of War clone that you can hide behind cover in a third-person shooter, so you don't really need this. Then you have to do 20 Protego Deflects, which is your shield ability. That's very easy. Then you have your collectible trophies. I want to say that there are 15 Quibblers, 15 Daily Profits, and 12 Potter Watch passwords, but I know for a fact that it's a grand total of 42 collectibles that you have to find. Most of them are relatively easy to find as long as you follow a guide, but I would recommend the text guide on PlayStation Trophies. The video guide I watched wasn't really that good because it really only showed each collectible for like 2 seconds, so you could barely see where you had to be at. But I would definitely recommend just following the text guide. You're going to be good to go that way. The only major issue is that in this game, there's no chapter select, so if you miss anything, you're going to have to replay the entire game to get it. Especially trophies like these collectible ones, so be careful with that. You won't get any of these all items collected trophies until very late in the game, like you'll get them in some of the last few levels, including the very last level has the last collectible. Then you have to level up, you have to reach a total of level 20, and it says that your spells get more powerful and your health goes up. I'm not entirely sure that's true. It doesn't seem like it does much of a difference, but it's there. It's a level progression system. You don't get any skill points or anything, so you'll reach level 20 during your hard difficulty playthrough. Then you have to defeat a total of 1,000 enemies. This one you may not get during your first playthrough, depending on how much you choose to just sprint past enemies, because that is a legitimate tactic in this game that works very well on subsequent playthroughs when you just don't want to waste too much time. But if you don't get it on your first playthrough, you will absolutely get it by the time you finish the game all 3 times, because yes, you have to beat the game 3 times. We'll talk about that in a second. Defeat 35 spiders, nothing difficult there. 50 quick stuns. I don't really remember exactly what that was, but it's easy. This is probably one of the harder trophies in the game, 50 stealthy stuns, because what you have to do is you have to be under the invisibility cloak with Stupefy equipped, and then use your R2 attack on an unsuspecting enemy to instantly stun them, because there's no killing in this game, because, you know, we're child-friendly here or something. So that's how you do this one. I'm not sure if it carries over between playthroughs. I'm not sure if Protego under the thing works, but I would just suggest doing it that way with the Stupefy stun under the covers. And when you're doing that one, you're going to want to do it in the Ministry Detention area level. It's one of those times where you split off between 3 different missions you can do, and you have to do all of them eventually. I highly suggest doing it with the Ministry Detention area because it has basically infinitely respawning enemies that are usually very easy to kill. That's a good one. There's also one where you go to Godric's Hollow later on, and there's a lot of enemies there that seem to respawn constantly when you have to free 6 Muggleborns. So that's another decent place to do it. Then you have our 4 online trophies here. These are for completing the challenges. There are 15 total challenges, 5 easy, 5 medium, and 5 hard. For the first 2, you just have to post a result online for all 15 challenges, which means get a 1-star rating or higher on them, which is very easy. I mean, getting 1 star on every challenge is not going to cause a problem whatsoever. I don't even think I ever ended up with only 1 star on any challenge. I think I always got at least 2 stars. So nothing to worry about there. You have to get 5 stars on any hard challenges. This is actually very easy. The 2 stealth missions both work perfectly for this. I actually did get it on both stealth missions. And just keep in mind, though, that the challenges are technically online. They're an online functionality. So if it goes down, then, well, if you haven't already done them, you're screwed. And that's why I kind of wanted to get this one done sooner rather than later. Now, this one right here, compare your ranking on any challenge with a friend. This one is trickier than it should be because both you and your friend need to make it onto the leaderboards, which means you both have to be in the top 1,000 in the world. Now, back when the game came out, this would have been very easy because, you know, people wouldn't have had as good of strategies and higher scores. I don't know if there's any hackers on the leaderboard. I'm sure there are. But it was a lot easier back then, but now you have to have someone on your friends list that has completed the challenges or a challenge with a top 1,000 score, and then you have to get onto that top 1,000 as well. It's one of the easy challenges that's best for it. It's the one where you're sneaking through the ministry that you have to do in like 30-something seconds for the best, for the 5-star ranking and the top 1,000. So if you're going to continue to go for this game later on in the future, then it's only going to get harder because of this trophy. And finally, you have to complete the game on easy, medium, and hard difficulty. Hard difficulty is not very hard. There's a couple of challenges that can be a little bit tricky just because of the large amounts of enemies and lack of checkpoints, and a few of the missions can be a little bit tough on hard just once again because of the large amount of enemies that'll spam you all at once and using a lot of Protego, and if you don't get a lot of good luck with getting like Felix Felicis or strengthening potions and stuff as drops. But it's not really that difficult overall. Just play smart and be careful, and you're really not going to have too much trouble, especially if you're good at like third-person shooters. So it's not too much to worry about, but you do have to beat the game 3 times because for some stupid reason, this game's difficulty trophies do not stack. So you're going to have to beat the game on each individual difficulty, which is really stupid. I hate when games do this. It was more of a trend back in the day. It's not usually a thing these days, but it was a lot more back on the PS3. So hard difficulty is your first playthrough. You want to beat it on hard, get most of the miscellaneous trophies, don't bother with the collectibles, kill most of the enemies you come across because it's tougher to sprint past. Then your second playthrough, beat the game on medium while finding all collectibles and cleaning up any of the combat trophies that you missed. And finally, a speed run through the game on easy and wrapping up any trophies that you might have missed at that point because you don't want to have to do a 4th playthrough for any reason. And like I said, there's no chapter select, so don't miss anything on that 3rd playthrough. But I mean, it's not that hard of a game. It's not a very good game, but I mean, it's not really all that hard at least. So, level 78, 25%, 19,309 total trophies, 472 platinums, 2,753 golds, 5,107 silvers, 10,977 bronzes. Plans for the upcoming week? Well, there's actually 2 sets of plans I want to talk about. First off, old crappy PS3 games that I want to play. I think that my wanting to do a lot of that may not end up happening because some of the games are stupidly expensive. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 and Lollipop Chainsaw both run around $25, as does the Japanese version of Heavy Fire Afghanistan. They all run about $25, which isn't bad, but it is kind of a lot for what you're getting out of those games. Because I mean, especially Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2 can be beaten in 3 hours. I'm not even kidding on that. You can actually beat the game in 3 hours, which is barely longer than the movie. So that is kind of unfortunate that you have to pay that much. I guess maybe they were more limited or something. But that is something to keep in mind for those games. But then there are the other games like Africa, Saw 2, Harry... I actually haven't looked at, what's the last one? Half-Blood Prince. I haven't looked at that one yet. But just some of those games get so expensive. Same with like the Japanese version of The Walking Dead Season 1. Just some of those games get so expensive. Like they're running at like 80, 90, $100 sometimes to just get a copy of them. And I mean, that's a little bit absurd. That's a lot of money for these games. So I don't really know what my plans are going to be for those in the future because they're just, expensive. Just not really quite worth the amount of money that you're putting into it just for a few super rare random platinums. There are also a few more like movie tie-in games like Thor, Iron Man 2, and Captain America that I might still do at some point, but I haven't decided yet. Maybe at some point. And finally, as to talk about the next week of everything in trophy hunting and channel and stuff like that. This coming week is probably going to be pretty uneventful for the channel because it is actually my birthday this coming Saturday, October 3rd. I'm going to be 25, a quarter of the way to 100. So a quarter of the way through life. Fantastic. But that's going to be this coming Saturday, so I don't really know what things are going to be like this week because my parents are going to come down here on Thursday. So I'll be celebrating some with them and with my girlfriend. So it's going to be a fairly busy week. So like videos should still be pretty normal. Shouldn't have much of a problem with that. But streams and stuff are probably going to be few and far between this week, if any happen. Because I would have, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to do whatever. But I'm not even sure that's going to work because there's good TV stuff coming on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, there's this it's some really stupid show on like TLC, one of those many random ones that I kind of got hooked on a couple months ago that I kind of want to watch its season premiere, as well as the debates that are that night, so that should be for an interesting night. And then Wednesday is the season premiere of South Park with the hour-long pandemic special, and I am really curious to see what they do for that because I bet it's going to be really good. So, we'll see. I honestly don't know what the week's going to look like in terms of streams. Videos will still be pretty normal, but there might not be any streams, and there probably will be very few trophies earned. But of course, I will continue to log into Destiny 2, and I will log into GTA 5 because we're about to go into another month. Also, I just need to record the audio and then do the final edits for the next challenge run edit. It was the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom No Damage run. That's going to be the next one, followed by Black Ops 1. Should be out before Black Ops Cold War comes out. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week, guys. I managed to drag this one out to close to half an hour. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you this week for random content and such. We will eventually do a stream around my birthday, like that I can do to celebrate my birthday with y'all. We'll probably just be playing some random games on here. I don't know what we'll play. We'll figure it out, though, when that comes. If it's either it's early this week or early next week, we'll figure it out. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later this week.